my name is Yasmin Euphemia, aka Sugar.
And I'm Beverly, aka UK Fluffy Chick, and together we are the founders of Support a Sister Network. But as we said before, Sis-Star is not just specific to women, it's people connected with women. So that's everybody. Mm-hmm. So today we're proving that point with our guest. Go for it, Sugar, because it's your
our guest is Gary. Hello, Gary.
Hi, I'm Gary Kerwin, and yes, everyone is connected, and we should all be in this together. So it may be sister, but as you said, we come from our mothers, don't we?
Exactly.
We have sisters and we have aunts.
Exactly. We have daughters.
Daughters even. Mm-hmm. You could forget their daughters. Yes.
Exactly. Do you know what? Just as you said that, Gary, do you know what just popped into my head? Gary in the past has been my honorary girl. Do you remember when we used to do Jafra together?
Yeah, you and I used to go out selling cosmetics, and I would do facials for people. And Yasmin and I would do that together. We were a good team.
Yeah, yes. Definitely. And he was very, very good. Got fantastic sales. Anyway, I'm going off track. It's just
because Gary hasn't even told us about himself. You're going into your memory lane story. Okay, Gary.
Memory lane.
About yourself.
Okay. Born originally from Bethnal Green, but my formative years were in Tottenham, and that's where I spent my a lot of my time, and I still hark back and have that feel for Tottenham still. It's a great time to grow up, I think, and a great place to grow up. Yeah, you know, Tottenham, for those who know, it's had its problems, but it's had its good vibes, and it's got its positivity. That's where I first met a lot of my friends that I'm still friends with now, where I got really engaged in music, and that's where I got engaged in politics and trade unions, all from Tottenham, all from living and growing up in Tottenham.
Okay, excellent. And you've mentioned trade unions. When did you start in trade unions?
Well, I first joined in a trade union, as I remember, about 40 years ago, when I was in my first job.
14 or 40?
40. Yeah, no, I don't look that old enough for that. But yeah, plus 40, more 40 years. In fact, where we found out at a workplace that we were earning less than another workplace in the same company. And so we got unhappy about that. So we joined a trade union and campaigned about that issue. And that was working in Edmonton, which is, up the road from Tottenham. But also part of what made me want to join, I think when I was 17, I read a book on the biography of Martin Luther King by his wife, Coretta King. And there was a strong theme of social justice in the workplace, but also justice out in the street. And that kind of resonated with me where I was at that time. So that was kind of an inspirational book for me, growing up at 17, 18 years old in Tottenham.
Okay. And sorry, the biography of?
Martin Luther King, written by his wife, Coretta King.
Written by his wife?
Yeah, it's very hard to find now. I got it from the library then.
Should have nicked it, like what most
I should have, to be honest. Coomcroft Library.
Like a proper Tottenham boy.
I don't know who in Tottenham doesn't have a book that's got Tottenham Library.
From High Cross Library. Oops. So yeah, that kind of got me thinking. And of course, Beverly, you would know, growing up in Tottenham could be sometimes unpleasant as well, given the stuff going on with the police in the 70s. Yeah. Maybe I wasn't so affected, but I saw it. I saw it happen to my friends. I saw it happen to girlfriends at the time, the police activity. So that kind of still kept my head kind of in that, after reading that book about social justice whole concept and about equality. So that's been with me since then.
Okay, so then what exactly did you do within the trade union? Because you said you got involved in trade unions. So what was your role?
First, I was just a member. Then when I went to the health service, I became a trade union rep. I represented people, got trained into it. But after a few years, I was a pharmacy technician. I wasn't enjoying the work. And I took the jump of leaving a full-time job with a salary and my union sponsored me to go to university for 1 year initially to study trade unions. And this was in the 80s, because I didn't have A levels, so I couldn't go to university in a straightforward way. So I left school at 16.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed the course. And I was thinking, I've got to go back to work. I've got to go and find a job. But there was a registrar who was kind of, we used to chat a lot. She said to me, what is your plans? I said, well, I'm about to work. She goes, but you like being here, don't you? And I said, yes. She goes, but I said, I've got no A levels. She goes, there's an open exam happens next month for people like you, mature students, as I was. You could just sit it blind and see what happens. So I sat this exam, not knowing what was going to be in it. And I got accepted, and I ended up doing a degree in industrial relations and economics.
Okay.
And that was the transformative period of my life, because some people were telling me, you're mad, you're leaving a paid job, you know, you're taking a big risk, you're going to become a student living on, we got grants in those days, not loans, student grant, how are you going to survive that? I did. I just thought I got to take that risk.
Yeah.
And it paid off. It just changed my whole life, really.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a risk, but if it's something that you're passionate about, you'll make it work. Yes. So, you know, you couldn't afford, because you left a full-time job with a pay. So, you know, you had to make this transition that you're going, you had to make it work. And it just gives you that drive, I believe. So, yeah, good for you for taking that, you know, opportunity.
Yeah, the drive was there because, you know, you didn't have a lot of money. So I do odds and bits and pieces of jobs while I was studying, worked in the summer. And then I didn't get the job I wanted immediately. So I did work. I worked for the local authority in child protection for a while. I worked in housing for a while until the right job come up. And when the right job come up, that was the start of it, really. And it was really, that's a significant sea change.
What was the right job?
I was just going to ask that myself.
The right job was it was a trade union officer for a very small trade union called the Chartered Society of Physiotherapy, and they represent only physiotherapists. And I got a job there, which I was really pleased to get. Partly on the back of when I was working for the local authority, I also became a trade union rep there, and I represented people. And so I was able to use that experience as well as the qualification I had. And that was a good great job. Good first steps. Within 2 weeks, I'm out representing people who have got problems at work, advising people, negotiating. And the university never taught me that. Never taught me that. You have to just learn that on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, negotiating paid. No one told me how to do that. Negotiating how to get people who are in trouble, you know, being disciplined. The course didn't ever tell me that. But you just do it.
Well, you have some companies, right?
Yeah.
I have to be careful what I say now. But you have some companies that they might have like an internalized union system, so to speak. Yeah. And if a member of staff or, you know, don't want to be represented by this internalized union and decide, you know what, I want to outsource and go to union, they can end up being ostracized. So what would you recommend in a situation like that? Well,
if you say an internal union, often some employers, to keep unions out, they set up staff associations and staff forums to do that work. Those are not really useful because they're not independent. They're only there for the employer. However, where you would go to, if they said we don't have unions here, under what's called the Acas Code of Practice, if you are being disciplined or being subject to a grievance, you have the right to be represented by a trade union, whether your employer likes it or not. That's the law. It's the legal minima that you would have the right. So if you are a member of another trade union outside, you can bring them in no matter what your employer says. We don't like trade unions, because there are many employers before 1999, you didn't you didn't have to do that. I was marched out of many workplaces by saying, you can't come here represent them. We don't recognise trade unions. We don't
That's
want
what
them
I was
here.
going to say, because I'm sure Mrs. Thatcher banned unions.
She didn't ban them. She made it very difficult for unions to exist. So
Okay.
unions reinvented themselves into what's called a servicing model. So, you know, like when you're an AA member, you break down, you phone them up, they come out, repair your will. So unions become, if you've got a problem, phone this number and we'll get someone out to represent you. So that's one end of trade unionism. It's what they did to survive. I mean, the other end of trade union is about listening to a group of workers at workplaces, solving the problems at the workplace with the employer there. But they had to adopt that model to survive. You phone us up, we'll send someone to represent you or support you. And if necessary, go all the way legal, because most unions have got big legal teams working within them. So you get the right to legal representation if it goes that far as well. So there are employers that don't like trade unions, but the law allows them to come in if you are a member of one. And that's the beauty. You mentioned Amazon, and earlier, I won't go into detail. Amazon have resisted in UK trade unions for the last 20 years. They fought back and not want unions. And yet in America, state by state, unions are being recognized in Amazon. They don't like it, but they have to lump it. So again, you could be working in Amazon, you could be a trade union member. The employer's not going to like it, but if you're in trouble, you can phone your trade union and they support you. What they can't do is negotiate your pay for you, because the employer won't have that. But they can give you the bottom line defense, which is what trade unions do.
Okay.
You see, so, and being a member of a union it's not costly, really, is it?
No, I mean, average, if there's an average, I think for most unions, it's probably about £12 a month, £13 a month. What is that? 4 cups of coffee at Costa. It is.
Yeah.
Depends on the coffee. It might be just 2.
And people say, well, why should I join? Well, unions shouldn't be only for the bad days, but when things go wrong and you are going to be disciplined or dismissed, what do you do on your own? You're on your own, a lone voice against an employer. So there's an unequal relationship. And a union is about readdressing the balance of that relationship to give you a little bit more oomph into it. But also, if you were dismissed and you were wrongly dismissed, how would you, as an individual, take on a company? There is no legal aid in employment. You have to pay. You have to pay at every stage. If you're a union member and they think you've got more than a 50-50 chance of success if you've been dismissed, you will get representation up to including a lawyer and or a barrister. That costs thousands. And, you know, for £13 a month, £13 a month, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's worth investing in the sense of, it's a bit like, I'm going to say life insurance.
It is.
Or critical illness insurance. It's just some small amount that you have to protect
employment safety net.
Yeah, it's a safety net. Like, you know, if you wouldn't not move into a house and take out your contents insurance, would you? Because you would think, well, I get burgled. What happens? Well, if you're not covered, you get nothing. But that's the bottom line. So trade unions at the minimum can represent you as individuals. If they're recognised at the workplace, they can represent you for pay bargaining as well, get involved in your pay conditions, but also most unions have got education and training programs that they run to develop members. I mean, a lot of unions, the one I work for and other unions, they're supportive of things like English as second languages, English and maths, qualifications, building them up, work in collaboration with FE and HE providers. So there's all that you can get out of a union as well, but besides the basic. And if you want to get it more involved, you know, you can have your voice all the way through that organisation. Where else can that happen? In the UK at this moment, they do professional development, education,
right?
Support in basic skills. All those come out of the trade union. So it's not just the nuts and bolts when stuff goes wrong. So you can get all that involvement and engagement out of your being a trade union member. There's loads, there's so many streams of work coming out of it. As I said, the selling point is like the house insurance thing, you know, best to have something wrong.
Yeah.
But if you want to explore what else you get, there's loads. You know, a voice in the election of the general secretaries of you, a voice, because a lot of them are affiliated to the Labour Party, a voice in who becomes the leader of the Labour Party, you get a vote in that. Where do you get that vote anywhere else? So if you are that inclined and you want to have an influence and an impact, you can do that. There's not many organisations beyond trade unions who will give you that voice that's quite big. And I think what else comes out of it, often not, people feel they're on their own at work. If you're in a union, there's a collective, and the collective is always stronger. You know, one person is easily broken. 100 people, it's a lot more difficult to break them. You know, so there is that strength in numbers always works, I think.
Yeah.
So is that the role? What is your what's the word I want now? So that's the role that you work currently in now.
Yeah, I negotiate with a number of employers in my role. I also look at workforce developments. I've been leading on introduction of apprenticeships into nursing and nursing support workforce, nursing associates as new workers. So unions get involved in that really creative stuff as well.
Yeah,
and it's really good to get involved, have a voice at the table in those discussions, which is really good.
That's like, so if you're in a job and you're looking at career development and like your manager's not well, they don't want to pay for it because you know it's out of their budget. Is that something you could go to the union about?
The union could do two things. One, they could signpost you through to resources that they have. Two, they could signpost you and your employer. Say, well, look, there's an apprenticeship levy. You're already paying into that as an employer. That's costing you £9,500 a year per employee. Why aren't you using that? Train and develop this member of your staff. They're going to stay with you because they will be loyal to you if you train. And you're already paying into that levy to the government. If you don't use that money, it's gone. You ain't getting it back. So that's the big push, is to get people going on a career pathway and using your apprenticeship system to develop that, all the way from, you know, let's say those 18-year-olds who have left school with no qualifications, right the way through to, you know, graduate programs, and the apprenticeship takes you all the way through that. And employers are paying into that money.
Do you think well, I'm sure the employers know about it, but the managers, do you think the managers know that this thing exists?
Many managers would say, no, I don't really know. I think I'll leave that to HR, or I'll leave that to the education department. So they would not know. They may not be hostile, but I think there's the role of the trade union. So, well, look, this is your employer is already paying this member of your staff. Why don't you utilize that and get them up on an apprenticeship course? They're going to develop better. All you've got to do is give them that permission for that time off. The course is paid for by the levy, and then you've got and you can work out how they can do that day release, evening classes, or block release. You work it out with them, but the money's there. Use it.
Yeah, because I can see just with people around me that they're hitting up against this glass ceiling. They love the job that they're in, but they just don't seem to be going any further. And it's like, do they have to leave the job to go further?
There's two things. A good employer should either, one, be encouraging you to go through the apprenticeships, and they go all the way to post-degree level. Now they're opening up an apprenticeship to become a doctor now, is opening up this year. And can you imagine, you could start with no A-levels and work your way through. It'll take a long time, but that is an ambitious apprenticeship, as well as the healthcare support workers, plumbing, electricians. There's 550 types of apprentices just in the health service alone, right? There's something for everyone. And the employer is paying into it. And the unions know about it, and the unions can signpost you that and give you the support to go and get that.
So all the information on all the apprentices that's available, you get that from the union, you're saying?
The union will tell you ones that they know in their sector. But they will say, well, if you want to, for instance, look at where apprenticeships are and you're in the health service, look at Health Education England, look at NHS employers website. If you're in local government, look at the Local Government Association website. We would signpost people to wherever they're working. In the care sector, you'd say, well, look at Care England's website. They will tell you all about apprenticeships that are available. Or just the gov.gov.uk, go.gov.uk and type in apprenticeships, and thousands of pages is just going to come up in front of you.
Oh, wow.
It's there, and it's an untapped resource. Employers have been paying into it for 7 or 8 years now, and still people are not getting access to them.
Because a lot of people don't know.
No, they don't know. It's true.
There's not much awareness raised on that, is it? It's that they take the money and hog it for themselves.
But the silly thing is, the employer, once they give that £9,500 a year, they don't get that back. So it's like,
where does it go? It goes into a pot. Where does it go?
It goes to the government. Goes to the treasury after. That's like, let's spend the money.
That's right. So that's what I'm saying. They just lower the awareness so they can hog that money for themselves, isn't it?
But employers have to take some responsibility.
Yeah, they do.
Public sector are good, but there are good employers out there in the private sector. Hospitality's got loads of. Look, you see McDonald's adverts on telly now for apprenticeships. There's McDonald's apprenticeships. Wow. McDonald's has got them all the way from sweeping the floor to running the store. It's all via apprenticeship model. They're running TV adverts on it. So they've embraced it. Hundreds of companies have embraced it, but you get still individual managers going, don't know anything about it.
Yeah, McDonald's is a very good example, because even way back, I remember, you can get a McDonald's certificate for wiping off the counter to the right standards. You can get qualifications for the strangest things from McDonald's.
But you see, those qualifications were only recognised by McDonald's. The apprenticeships is recognised university. So say, for instance, you became a food hygiene manager, that's transferable across hospitality. When you did the McDonald's 5-star thing, that's only good in McDonald's. No one else is going to recognise that. But they've embraced apprenticeships because they've seen there's a model there with loads of different ones that they can use.
So it's not actually accredited, so to speak.
Their ones weren't. Only they accredit their own. The apprenticeships are accredited by Institute of Apprenticeships, by Ofqual, the regulator, the education regulator. So they are regulated and recognised. Yeah, they're done at FE or HE or universities.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Gary, what also is amazing is that we've only got 5 minutes left and we've not actually heard anything about you. Yeah, well, I suppose we've heard about you because we can hear how passionate Gary is about unions. All right, so we know how you came to come into unions, all right. We got an idea of where you're at. This is the question that you didn't want me to ask you.
Yeah.
Ask him.
Where are you going with this? What would you what's your ultimate goal?
Okay, it is a difficult one. I mean, my ultimate goal, would, let's say, let's do the hypothetical. The hypothetical ultimate goal would be to say where there are workplaces where you have no more bullying, no more harassment, no more discrimination, no more racism at the workplace. That would be if I saw that, I think World Trade Unions have done their job. That, unfortunately, is never going to happen, because even though stuff is, it isn't as overt as it was in the 70s and 80s, there's, thousands of cases every year still go to tribunal over all types of discrimination. It's because there's still poor behaviour, still uneducated managers and uneducated people who don't recognise people for their strengths. And if in an ideal world, my ideal would be that would cease, and you'd get people would be paid appropriately. You wouldn't be played off against each other, and people would be paid equally and equitable. That's, in a good working environment. But that's a bit hypothetical.
Maybe
one day when all the children are great.
Well, look, the Equal Pay Act came into being in 1970, right? to equalize pay between men and women. It's 2022. Women, on average, are still earning 25% less than men across the economy. It's taken all this time and we still have not got equal pay, right? That's a shocker, isn't it? And that's even though companies they have to produce their figures every year to the government about gender-based, gender pay gaps. And they've all got their pay gaps. Some are bigger than others. The public sector does better, I believe, well, you would expect, because they're unions there. We're on their backs always. That's where the big equal pay claims and cases started, representation women started in public sector. And that's where that legislation has been most effective. You'll see, you might have seen the Co-op and ASDA are both involved in lengthy cases. Women have, via the unions, have taken them to now the Court of Appeal over equal pay. This is 50 years on, 52 years on, and women are still not earning the same as men. The union I represent, I work for is 90% women. And you will just look at the pay rates, and you look at pay rates elsewhere, and you think, there's an issue here. There's gender-based discrimination going on. It's not as overt. And then you get into all the other stuff, and it's there in front of you. Public sector tackles it because yet their pay scales are up and published. How many private companies do you know have put their pay scales on the website so you know what you're going to earn before you go there, and you know what other people are earning as well? They don't do it.
And they're not. There's no, like, say, law or rule that they have to do it. They're not breaking.
No. The law says that you've got to give individuals a contract of employment that stipulates a number of points that they must have in it. There's nothing that says you've got to be transparent on pay. The government says every year you send us figure for a pay audit, your gender difference. And every year, not all companies do it. There's no penalty. They get named and shamed, but there's no penalty.
Yeah, but even personally now, like I've just gone into a new contract, and they know my experience, they know everything, but yet they still start me at the bottom of the scale.
Yes, and every manager will try that on because they think of their budget. What you've got the right to argue is that my previous skills and experience must count for something, because we're in a scarce labour market. Look how, ironically, look at the vacancy rate out there. There's a big vacancy rate. So you should be able to have a discussion about raising your starting salary to reflect your experience. Again, in the public sector, you could probably do that more often. It's not so common elsewhere. But it does happen. But it's just about, I've got this. Surely this must be worth an extra pay point.
Yeah.
Always ask and always read your contract so you know, is my pay stuck like this forever, or am I going to get yearly increases? Because a lot of people don't spend less time reading their contract than they would reading the front page of a newspaper. But or being on Twitter, they probably spend less time on their contract than they do on Twitter. What pays the bills? It's the contract.
Exactly. You're keeping it real.
You need to be a bit refocused sometimes.
Yeah. But then it's the wording in these things as well. You read the first paragraph and it's like, do I really want to read anymore? But
there's a good free resources out. You can go Acas' website, you can go to Citizen Advice, and you get some advice, free advice online. It's not great. It's not as good as being in person if you're a trade union. If you're a trade union member, you can phone up the helpline. Most unions have got 7-day-a-week helplines where you can discuss those with advisors. So, this contract term says this. What do you think? And they will tell you, good, bad, indifferent.
Okay, that's something to remember. All right, so as I always say in these interviews, we've actually come to the end. And
I was just going to say it for you. You just took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, right. So, Beverly, do you think we've covered everything?
I don't know, Gary, do you think we've covered everything?
I think we did. I didn't answer all your questions, did I?
Yes.
From the start, your free script, but do you mind that? Do you mind? We covered enough? Or did you want, there was those other, your general questions. I know we didn't.
Go on. Fill us in. Fill in the gaps for
All
us,
right.
Gary.
Actually, no, we've done it. We've done it. I'm just looking. We've done it.
I thought there was 4.
What do you hope to achieve on this journey?
Well, you said about.
I said it. That's what I said. So yeah.
The ideal.
Okay. So you gave us your background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bethnal Green, Tottenham. Yeah, Tottenham. Yeah.
Tottenham.
You gave us where all that about yourself. You gave us where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
You gave us where your was it the mission, is it?
What I kind of believe.
Yeah. You gave
why
us
I joined,
and then you gave us where you'd like to see it. Yeah, I think you bravo again.
Thank you.
I think you covered it all. Unless there's anything you would like to add that's outside of the questions.
No, I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
It's been a good conversation.
Yeah, it's good to talk. What's his name? That man from the BT commercial used to say that?
Oh God, yeah.
I know.
Oh my Lord. Yeah,
I can see, but I can't remember him.
Yeah, whatever his name is, somebody will fill me in on that one. But yeah, it's good to talk. That's what I reckon. It's good therapy. Release.
I've enjoyed this, so thank you.
And I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm glad you come on to show our viewers that it's not just about women. We have men.
We know a man.
We know a man. A man who can.
A man who can, exactly.
And thank you for being our what do you call it now? Our honorary and officially first male.
Thank you very much. I'm very privileged
so
to be here with you. So thank you. As I said, we all have sisters and mothers, mothers and daughters. So yes.
That's it. Love it. So yeah, so if you enjoyed this content and any other content that we've had prior to this, and you want to see more content and be notified of all the content that we put out there, like, subscribe, and share. See, I'm getting good.
Yes, and I'm enjoying the comments, by the way. And well done, Bev. Thank you. All right, bye.
Thank you very much. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I really enjoyed that. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.